2025 is one of the best years in gaming I can remember. And it's also one of the worst years in gaming I can remember. There's so much stuff that has happened this year that's made people mad, turned people off, and otherwise sucked.
Fire!
Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanks, let's talk about 10 things video game players hate in 2025. Starting off at number 10, I think the most obvious. Prices keep going up, and it doesn't feel like how it did in previous generations. New games on the Nintendo Switch 2 were announced at an eye-watering $80 price tag. We were promised those games were worth the extra $10. We played Mario Kart World. It's a great game, evolves the formula. I might even say the most interesting Mario Kart game, period. It's not worth $80. To me, it just seems like it was the only game that came out at the Nintendo Switch 2 launch, so everyone had to buy it if they wanted a game. Game consoles are also only getting more expensive, with Microsoft constantly adding extra numbers to their flagging console business. The consoles have received 2 price hikes in 2025, going up about $50 each in the US as a response to macroeconomic forces, which is corporate speak for higher tariffs. I have never bought the tariffs thing. I know everybody hates this, but I believe that it is more or less just business. Inflation happens, and they try to compensate for future inflation. They try to outrun inflation, essentially. It's insane. It is greed, even though greed isn't really at the core of it. They know that sometime in the future they will deal with the fact that their thing doesn't make money, so they're trying to make as much money off of their thing as they can. I think that there is no more obvious situation with the idea of a traditional game console right now. That is going the way of the dodo sometime in the next decade, I think. What happens if the macroeconomic forces go the other direction? Let's say the tariffs go away. Will they lower prices? Absolutely not. Let's say the value of a dollar deflates. Will they accommodate that? No, of course they will not. I know everybody gets mad at me for saying this stuff like I'm in favor of it, but I'm not. I'm actually against it. I hate all of this. I'm like Anakin Skywalker. I don't care if the Sand People are men, women, or children. I hate them. The price that Xbox Game Pass was at before they raised it accommodates the actual amount of inflation that has happened since the original price. But because they know that money is going to further inflate, and also by the time we get to that point, there's probably not going to be as much money to be made anyway, all of this stuff is set to change. The gaming industry, the actual money practices are sitting on a foundation of sand right now. And Microsoft seems committed to make all of the worst decisions possible. Nintendo, thankfully, is not raising the prices of every new first-party game, but doesn't necessarily mean we should be grateful to them. In fact, we shouldn't. They set a precedent that more or less incentivizes other companies to raise their prices. There are publishers licking their chops about charging $100 for a game, particularly Grand Theft Auto 6. Games in the 90s didn't have fixed prices. Some games were a lot more expensive than others, but having an agreed upon maximum price for a standard no-frills version of a game, it was nice. Seems like that's not what we're dealing with anymore, and it sucks. Hopefully what doesn't suck is the content you're watching here on GameRanks. If you like it, we would ask that you press the subscribe button. It does us a big solid, and shockingly low numbers of people who watch these videos are actually subscribed. Believe it or not, it's a big thing for us. The more people subscribe, the easier it is for us to do this stuff. So we thank you very much for clicking subscribe. We hope we make it worth it for you. And number 9 is the Fortnite-ification of gaming. Intellectual property is, it makes the world go round, and in 2025, we're starting to get sick of it. Call of Duty sparked backlash after the announcement of the Beavis and Butthead skin pack for Warzone. Man, there are some ugly skins in that game, but these are next-level monstrosities. They are not just ugly skins, they're also immersion-breaking, outright dumb cartoon characters in a military fantasy. Battlefield 6 capitalized on Call of Duty's mistake by promising to limit weird crossover skins. It's a wider problem in video games. You might be able to call it the Fortnite-ification, because that's probably the most prominent thing, but I've talked about it a lot as well. Business is not about making a product anymore. It's about holding a property and finding a way to charge people rent for that property. That is ultimately the core of Fortnite-ification. The real estate-ification, the renter market-ification of all business. I mean, it's hardly just video games. Ready Player One and Space Jam both showed you the version of let's utilize every IP we can. Somebody's got to make some money here somehow. And it makes IP crossovers like Star Wars, which has a themed expansion coming out in Destiny 2. It feels less like a fun collaboration and more like a naked cash grab. Selling useless DLC for absurd prices is definitely not new to this year, but it feels especially like a powerful force in games like Marvel Rivals, where entire comics are produced to capitalize on the popularity of a skin. Not a character, a skin. The evil Invisible Woman Malice is getting her own comic, advertised as a tie-in to Marvel Rivals, the skin, not the character, the skin of the character. And skin packs cost $26. It's hard to see why that's a priority, but just because you understand it doesn't mean you think it's good. At number 8, does every game need a parry? Not every game in 2025 is designed with a casual audience in mind, of course, but parries have become very normal. Hollow Knight Silksong pushes the difficulty to places a lot of people weren't really prepared for, and that's true for a lot of games that used to be more casual. One easy way to make a game much more mechanically difficult is to add a parry. Feels like pretty much every major release in 2025 has a parry mechanic. Doom: The Dark Ages, both a game that's more casual and more hardcore than Doom Eternal. But obviously the reason I'm bringing it up is it has parries. And I'm not even complaining about the parries in Doom. I like Doom: The Dark Ages. But it also is, I just can't help but ask, is this what anybody wanted? Even survival horror games aren't free of this. Silent Hill F adds waves of enemies and perfect parry gameplay. I mean, it gives you a bit of a special sanity meter, which is kind of a focus meter, really. It slows time and makes special parry attacks a little easier to pull off. But I don't know. You'll notice that all of these games that I'm bringing up are games where I don't actually dislike the parrying. Like, there's entire games built with a parry in mind. Nine Souls, Clair Obscur. I don't really think either of these games do it bad. In fact, most of the time, if I'm gonna bring it up, it's probably because it's decent. Like, we played Metal Gear Rising. Well, kind of had our little yearly replay. Some recent discussions prompted it. Metal Gear Rising has great parries. But I just feel like not every single video game in every single genre needs parries. Sonic Frontiers has parries. That didn't come out this year, but, and again, it does it well. It's fun. It's good. I'm not complaining about the parries in any one specific game. I'm complaining about it because it's in every game. It doesn't need to be. At number 7, everything is a remake. I say this a lot, there's nothing new under the sun, but it feels like 2025 has given us a whole lot of old. And I want to be clear, this is similar in nature to the previous point. It's not that I'm going to say that any of these remakes are bad. A lot of them are phenomenal. Metal Gear Solid Delta is wonderful. Literally nothing bad to say about it, except, I mean, it's kind of not necessary. It's one of the most complete versions of the game, but they remade all the geometry in the game. And sometimes it feels weird. I don't know. I enjoy it, but there's times where I'm playing the game and I'm thinking, what's different? Why? Even though it technically looks a lot better, it technically goes the extra mile. I don't know. At least it did do that. Not every remake does go the extra mile. What's going on with Deus Ex Remastered? This was announced at the State of Play presentation not long ago, and it looks strange. It makes some things, I guess, technically more detailed, while leaving other things weirdly untouched. It's off-putting in a way the original's graphics just weren't. And I don't know, it does not look how the original game want it to look. It just looks like a mess of some modern-ish game engine stuff. But, I mean, even that is trying to offer a little bit of something. Nintendo continues to re-release games at very high prices. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 doesn't really do anything to the games other than, release them from the Wii Motion Control prison, which is good. But Nintendo only recently released a Mario collection that included Mario Galaxy 1, but not 2. So if you want all the platformers in the series on Switch, you're buying Mario Galaxy 1 twice. That's just dirty. And number 6 is Undead on Arrival games. Game development's hard. Development time is getting longer, and the time it takes for new games to release sucks. That's not exactly what we're talking about here, though. The curse of the Undead game is, well, let me get into it. There's games that were passed from one developer to another to save it, all in a desperate attempt to release something that we apparently look forward to, but ultimately ends up fairly mediocre. Case 0 for 2025 is probably Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, a game that, man, we were all rooting for. But for many, the sequel is being developed by Hardsuit Labs, who is supposed to be an immersive sim inspired by games like Dishonored. And certainly, when you're looking at footage of the game, you can see that. But Hardsuit is not who finished up the game. The Chinese room is. They're a development studio not really known for a focus on gameplay. They finished production on Bloodlines 2. It needs to be said, under extreme pressure. Yeah, they are not purely at fault for the problems of this game, but it's a lackluster RPG without a lot of RPG mechanics. It's kind of a strange project that loses focus on exactly what it wants to be. And while we're talking about Undead games, let's talk about Undead franchises. Supermassive Games took over development on Little Nightmares 3 from the original team Tarsier Studio, and the lack of imagination is instantly apparent in the mediocre third game. These games are not outright bad. The Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, Little Nightmares 3, they're just undead. They don't have a spark of life in the way that the, expectations would have implied. At number 5, let's talk about graphic requirements getting a little wild, eh? Video games have taken our computer power for granted. Look at Borderlands 4. Game ran terribly at launch with huge performance issues. And the head of Gearbox, Randy Pitchford, said everyone just needed upgrades. The big problem is games like Borderlands 4 take the time and optimize for console launch, but take the lazy route on PC, assuming players would just have monster rigs and get the best possible performance. And this is a problem with all the major publishers. Instead of optimizing for PC, they slap insane requirements on it and call it a day. Just look at Monster Hunter Wilds on PC. Games like these don't need the latest graphics or crazy expensive GPUs. They just need to be fun and have good performance. That's all we want. But Capcom is still catching heat for those performances. We made a video about the performance issues not long ago, and it's honestly, it's completely nuts that these publishers aren't thinking just a few years into the future when game consoles themselves are pretty much the way of the dodo, and we're actually talking more along the lines of Steam Decks, ROG allies, maybe set-top boxes with Steam on them, I don't know. That's where it's headed. Just to be clear, hardware that's tied to a brand that gets exclusive games that are first party, that is making less and less business sense. And I mentioned it once in the video already. It's not like consoles are getting cheaper, making it make more sense. As consoles get more arbitrarily expensive, they're not going to have larger user bases. On top of that, graphics cards are in short supply. You got an upsurge in scalpers who are using it in AI server farms. And the damn things are required at this point. Games like Wuchang Fallen Feathers just have awful PC performance. And a game like that has a real high skill ceiling, so you need frame-perfect reaction time. But man, is that hard when your computer's spitting out smoke and chugging along. Call of Duty games have just given up on optimization altogether. You end up downloading 100 gigabyte patches and add more and more waste to program. It's nuts. We don't have infinite space on our SSDs, no matter what Activision or Microsoft thinks. At number 4 is all these pointless creation platforms. Video game publishers dream of easy, low-effort methods to make money. I noted it earlier. All business is transitioning to real estate, the owning of property and the charging of rent. It's all about trying to create things that will just passively create money for the rest of eternity. And one of the big get-rich-quick things is skipping the whole video game development thing from the jump. Game development is hard, right? Why not make it so that your game is really the thing that lets other people make game? You got the Fortnite-ification. This is the Roblox-ification. Or the Mind's Eye-ification, you could say. Mind's Eye is a mess of a game, but according to the developers, it's not really a game at all. It's a proof of concept for the Everywhere creation system, a magical thing stuck into Mind's Eye like a vestigial limb. It's a service that allows players to make mini games and custom levels in Mind's Eye, but it was all meant to be a larger service that allowed for full video game development. Basically, it was meant to be Roblox, but it doesn't have any of that game's functionality. All the scenarios we've played in the Everywhere creation system, they're embarrassing. It's barely programmable crap like enemy wave assaults or combat missions that feel like a student's first attempt at designing a video game. When we first found this feature in Mind's Eye, it was just confusing. Very confusing. Don't know why it exists, other than the fact that it's essentially the reason Mind's Eye exists at all. It's not good. At number 3, I think this is going to be a pretty easy one to cover. Games getting canceled. Like, all right, let's talk for a second about Perfect Dark. Let's be clear. Perfect Dark is kind of a niche game. I understand some guy in a suit saying this isn't going to be a huge hit. Dedicating tons of resources towards this is probably a bad idea. I get it. A modern Perfect Dark? Come on. I'm not saying it would definitely be a hit or anything, but if there's one franchise with unrealized potential, it is Perfect Dark. I mean, it's not just that game. There's EA's Black Panther game, which say what you want about Black Panther's movies. Some people love them, some people hate them for various, sometimes bizarre reasons, sometimes very understandable reasons. That game sounded really cool. I'm sorry, but it did. Transformers reactivate? I mean, how could anybody not want a Transformers game in 2025, 6 or 7? Something big, something boisterous, something with a lot of money behind it. That's what Transformers needs, man. Everwild, another Rare originating game that honestly looked really cool. It was this cel-shaded third-person adventure game with some like God game style elements, you know, like Peter Molyneux inspiration, like not necessarily the too grand of ambition. Like they weren't saying like we're going to do everything, but like the things that Peter Molyneux actually accomplished. He wanted to go way further than he did, but the fact is like his games are influential, and they would have influenced this very cool looking, different looking game. But yeah. And then there's Wonder Woman. We've talked so much about the unrealized potential of the Nemesis system, and the cancellation of Wonder Woman is yet another reason why somebody needs to frickin' copy it. Just like write your own don't like look at the code that was used to make the real one and like avoid doing anything in it. That will protect you. Just do it. Just do it. I promise. I know I'm not a lawyer, but we were going to get a Wonder Woman game that was allegedly going to feature a Nemesis system that was next gen. Like, again, say what you want about Wonder Woman. There's EA and DC baggage that's involved with any comic book, anything. I think this was going to be good. And we didn't even know about it until we knew it was never going to happen. RIP Monolith Soft. Let's pour one out for them. Let's pour one out for all these games, man. At number 2, no end to the grinding. Grinding for better gear. I mean, some games, that's what it's about. And some games push us a little too hard. This year, for instance, the Edge of Fate Destiny 2 expansion went a little too far. They gave us another in-game currency, which, no thank you. The expansion adds another grind to the game in the form of unstable cores, which are used to increase the power level of weapons. It's confusing. It's pointless. It exponentially increases how much grinding you have to do, as if buying the battle pass wasn't enough. Well, it's still not enough. You only get dozens of unstable cores with a battle pass. You actually need thousands to max out your gear. Massive fan backlash caused them to get rid of this one right away. People are saying things like this is an example of how voting with your dollars works. It's not. It's reputation. If you mess with their reputation, that's when they'll act. And it was the right choice on their part, but that doesn't mean the excessive grinding is going away. With some games, it's not a bug, it's a feature, and it's fine. I like the grind in Borderlands. I even like it in Destiny to some extent. But I mean, we got stuff like Battlefield 6 launching with really low XP payouts. Like earning basic gear for your loadout was a chore, and it took DICE a little longer than it should have to address that slog. They added more XP for matches and lowered the total XP to unlock attachments. Battlefield 6 is a great multiplayer shooter, ridiculously fun. But man, on top of that, it had a Phantom DLC that didn't exist that made it impossible to launch on EA's launcher. Players were begging to refund the game on the EA launcher to buy it on Steam, where the game had no issues. Although, can we just, for a minute, ask why the hell you're buying games on the EA launcher? Why are you doing that? The only person that hurts is you. Friends don't let friends buy games on the EA launcher. And finally, at number 1, single-player games being turned into worse multiplayer games. 2025 is the peak year for multiplayer spin-offs of popular single-player games. Case in point, FBC Firebreak. Basically a remake of Left 4 Dead set in the Control universe, which is, in certain respects, sounds like it could be awesome, but So let's talk about why a Remedy game is good, right? They are narratively rich, they take very bold storytelling choices, and in the case of Control, the Control is like nothing else, whereas FBC Firebreak is Left 4 Dead. It's certainly not one of the most hated games of the year. It's not fun, but it's not great. Let's talk about another example of that. Marathon is an extraction shooter version of the Doom-era cult classic FPS series, which changes old-school single-player narrative adventure into a multiplayer game that literally no one wants. After years trapped in the Destiny 2 dungeon, this is what Bungie came up with, and it's just another tired extraction shooter. Also, it's kind of uniquely ugly. We've seen the game described as crash test dummy punk, and I think it's that. It doesn't really have anything to do with Marathon either. Nothing about the themes or aesthetic makes us think of the old Marathon games. And it's not like giving us something new is a bad thing. The problem is that this is not inspired. It's not good. It feels dictated by Sony executives. It's one of the biggest crash and burns of the year after a disastrous early access period. I'll tell you, it's nice ranting, getting this kind of crap out. I don't love making a bunch of ragey videos personally. I like saving them up for stuff like this. Get just all of the bad stuff out at once. What do you think? Leave us a comment, let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanks.